Hello and welcome to the first episode of the 100-Year Quest. This is the series in which I talk about some of the games I played before and some of the games I'm currently playing. It's going to consist of footage of the end games and maybe some not so less end game as long as it's fun. But yeah. So this is Diablo 3. Yes, one of the most iconic ARPGs that have come out in the last decade. I have not played this game since Season 5, which I believe came out around 2015, around December 2015, I think. So it's been a good 5-6 years. Recently, a friend of mine brought it up, said, hey, have you tried D3 recently? And it really made me have the itch. So I decided to go back into the game and play a little more. And to my pleasant surprise, even though the game hasn't changed a whole lot, they did add some additional Torment difficulties. And what you see here, this footage, is Torment 16, the highest Torment available in the game. Now, I want to take a quick moment and just go over the build real quick. I'm playing as a barbarian using a set called Might of the Earth. Now, this set is built around the idea that your Earthquake and your Avalanche, some of the available skills, deal 20,000% increased damage. Now, this is very important because this set makes my movement skill, one of which is Leap, causing Earthquake whenever I land. Now, I have my boots, which are Lut Socks. Now, these legendary boots come with an affix that allow me to leap up to 3 times within 2 seconds. So essentially bypassing the cooldown, which causes 3 earthquakes, each dealing 20,000% damage. In addition, my Q and my W, which is Warcry and Threatening Shout, thanks to my weapon, Blade of the Tribes, both of these abilities will cause an avalanche and earthquake as well. So as I rotate through my skill bar, my Q, my W, my left and right mouse click, I will cause 6 earthquakes and 2 avalanches, dealing 20,000% damage for each individual trigger. This is what gave me enough damage to do Torment 16. Now, for this build also has a lot of damage reduction, but for the sake of video, we're not really going to go over too much of it. You can see some of it popping up. The chest icon is basically the Kunai's cube, that legendary effect that whenever my resource is above 90%, I take 50% less damage, and my legendary gems give me increased armor stack, increased percentage armor per channel per second of me channeling skill, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of damage reduction, but the idea is that as I'm channeling, I keep my fury at maximum, and this way triggers a bunch of different effects that reduce the damage taken. Now here you can see many of you who played Diablo 3 before is very familiar. I clicked on a shrine, spawned a pack of rare enemies. That's thanks to one of my favorite items in Diablo 3, the Nemesis Bracers. It has a legendary affix that basically spawn elite packs whenever I activate a shrine. This is insane for any kind of rifts or greater rifts, empowered rifts, so on and so forth. The idea being, the elite packs is what's really going to push the progress of these rifts. So the more elite packs you can spawn, the faster you can move the progress bar, getting ahead at the little timer. And the faster you can finish the rift, the faster you can get to rewards, the faster you can go to the next rift. So thanks to that, this unique item, this legendary items, has been my favorite for basically since the beginning of time, and I use it on all of my characters back in the day. Now, one of the pleasant surprise coming back to the game is that they changed how some of the legendary items work. So now I can give my follower, my little Templar, the Nemesis bracers. So this way it frees up my own bracer slots for either another one with a better stats or something that give me unique affixes. Now, because I only came back to the game like 2 days ago, I really didn't find anything with a good legendary affix for my build. So I just really didn't bother. I'm using like an ancient bracer legendary that just has really good stats. So on and so forth. Oh, and yeah, I don't have any primal ancient gear because apparently those are really hard to find, really hard to grind for. And I just want to experience the new Torment difficulties. I decided that I'm going to push this character to Torment 16 and see how it feels, see what it's like. And so here we are. Now this character so far in this rift is doing great. I noticed that a lot of ground effect are happening on Torment 16. You can see here we have a lot of arcane beams. We have plague as well. Earlier there were a bunch of freezing pulse, vortexes, and luckily there aren't a lot of mortar, the fire explosion ones this rift, but still this is more ground effect CCs than I've seen in Torment 14 and 15. This is by far the most. But as you can see, we are about to we're getting close to summoning the Rift Guardian, and this is my first ever Torment 16 run, the Greater Rift Torment 16 run. In fact, I never did a normal Torment 16 Rift. I just jumped right into the Greater Rift for this. So this is a blind run. I have no idea what to expect other than, well, it's going to be a much more tankier version of Torment 15. So, but at this point, I kind of figured out that as long as I can play well around these ground effects, such as that freezing pulse, such as the electrocuting fields, plague, arcane beams, we're going to do fine. Because so far, as you can see, I'm pushing the progress bar quite far, and we're almost towards the end. So I'm just praying that, I can finish this Greater Rift floor 75 deathless, and of course praying that I could actually finish this floor. But so far it's looking great. I killed quite a few rares. The rares at the beginning of this rift took quite a long time. I made a few mistakes. There were some that I just shouldn't have engaged because of how tanky they were, and they ended up taking up a lot of my time. But luckily I was able to finish them off, and the orbs they dropped gave me enough of a boost to really stay ahead of the game. Now here, I saw the progress bar and I'm feeling really good because the timer is just slightly above halfway and I'm at the end game already, and the normal expectation of what I used to see on lower Greater Rift is that I need about maybe 20% of the bar to kill the Greater Guardian. So when the Rift Guardian spawned right here, it actually took me a moment. As you can see that I was looking at the butterflies, I didn't know where the Guardian was, what the Guardian is. And when this guy showed up, I didn't recognize it. But when I saw this, when I got frozen, I realized, yep, this is one of my least favorite Rift Guardians. Not because it's super strong, not because it's super tanky, but because of how many CC he has. Every time I've frozen, my DPS effectively dropped to 0. And for a short duration, I will have no movement speed, no action speed. And this really chews up the time necessary to complete the rift, right? So this is one of, in my opinion, one of the worst Rift Guardian I could have gotten. I would rather take like a tanky boy versus something like a Cold Snap. As you can see, it's just constantly, there's a lot of freezing. There's the little freezing little lotus thing is always active. He has these little bombs that constantly pulsing, constantly exploding, chilling, freezing me. And on top, he has the freeze slam. So tons of CC I have to work with. I have to work around. But luckily enough, we have a lot of damage, and I do stun him when I use my my E. So I can kind of control the flow of the battle a little bit. Now, as you can see here, this second half, this last quarter of the boss fight, you will see a lot that I will reach fatal damage a few times here and there. That's because I decided to play more aggressively. Towards the end here, I really didn't pay attention to the progress bar and how fast the time was catching up. Prior to going into this rift, I spec'd out of one of my damage passives to a defensive passive, and that's popping up right now, right next to my resource bar. It's the little shadow refigure that's on top. Basically, when I reach fatal damage, I gain immunity to all controlling impairing effects, and instead of dying, I go to 15% of my health, and I gain a 95% damage reduction. So yeah, I decided in the end that, if the time is really running really low, I will purposefully just aggro the crap out of the Guardian. I will drop to fatal, but instead of dying, everything triggers, I gain immunity to freezing and chill, and this gave me a window to just continue bursting him, and it worked. So yeah, overall, first thought about coming back to D3, something I realized is just like Diablo 3 is very fun in small doses. There are so much you can do, so many legendary you can farm, as you can see. Excuse my inventory here. Any kind of ARPG with gears, I just want to collect all of them, So my stash is just completely full, and my characters are all full, so on and so forth. But yeah, D3, still pretty fun after so many years. Not much has changed. First, Torment 16 completed level 75 at Paragon 670 something. But yeah, the first episode of the 100-year quest. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you next time in a different game, a different time with a different character, different build. All right, see ya.